Hello.
How are we?
Very well, thank you, guys.
Feels like it's been a little bit of a while on the LadsTake podcast.
It has indeed.
Yes, now
We'll have
everybody's here.
a little week off.
Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the LadsTake podcast episode. God knows what I'm gonna say 7, 8, 7. You let us know in the comments.
Let us know.
Well, we might be a little bit rusty. We've had we've had a week off really. We were meant to not have a week off, but things went a little bit haywire. Pav, do you want to explain a little bit of that?
Yeah, so we decided to go out last week, and it just didn't end well. It's a 5-day hangover. I couldn't see at the end. I had to leave early. The TV was a blur. Couldn't watch the rest of the game. Too much beers. That's what I've got to say.
Yeah, I think we mentioned on the last podcast before we were meant to film the live podcast. It was Champions League quarterfinal predictions. We obviously went to watch Liverpool, hoping that they'd go through, which obviously didn't happen. We did record a live podcast. However, Pav had to leave halfway through due to whatever. What was it that tipped you over the edge, Pav?
I've no clue. I was fine when we got there. I had some food. And then all of a sudden, I can't say. My head's spinning and everything. The TV.
Did you drink that Sprite? You drink my Sprite.
That manager there did look dodgy.
Oh, well, yeah, she did look a bit dodgy. I would argue that maybe the roulette or the what were the cards we had?
The Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire. I would argue they might have had a part to play.
Yeah, probably.
Max's choices of drinks and Elliot's
triple gin.
You were down in porn star martini there on the garden, so it could be.
That is true. Straight out of the box.
Just had to be done.
But yeah, we got Pav got into that state. Me and Elliot, I watched the video we recorded back, and it's just us hurling abuse at Sadio Mane, rightly so. But that's not good content. And then as soon as the podcast was over, something happened to you, Max. What happened?
Oh, no comment.
No comment from Max. But that's just
off. That's what I'm saying.
We'll leave that. We'll
leave that there. But let's just say we are barred from one specific bar in Derby. Anyway, this week we are going to be talking about the thing that everybody in the world and their mother has spoken about this week on Twitter, YouTube. It is everywhere. It is this incredible European Super League that's been going on. Lots of opinions. Myself and Pav have clubs involved, and Max doesn't. So it gives two different perspectives on those different points. Elliot, who is a huge Liverpool fan, isn't here today. If you haven't noticed already, he will be back with us as soon as possible. His commitments are not big enough for the LadsTake.
Yeah,
it is poor from him, and he will face a forfeit for that. And a fine. However, we'll let him off. It's his birthday soon, and we'll hopefully get him to get his points across on a little video clip that I'll insert now.
of course we will.
Okay, hopefully Elliot said his piece. If not, then he's getting a double fine. But, lads, this European Super League, when the news first broke that this was going to be an official thing, I think we've heard about it for a couple of years now, being in the works. Never really thought about it for another 5-10 years. When it first broke, what was our thoughts on it? Max, what did you think?
I don't think anyone really believed it, did it, to start with? There was a lot of talk about it, then nobody really believed it. It was all there were a lot of rumours circulating on Twitter. Unfortunately, they started and it got very serious with lots of statements coming out, and then unfortunately, the unthinkable happened.
It's like a dramatic piece. Yeah, but I mean, yeah. So I think we were all the same. I'm sure you were, Pav, as well. When it first broke, without the club's backing, it did feel like, well, that's a bit ridiculous. And everyone was making jokes and things like that. But then you see, I think Arsenal actually, Pav, your club was one of the first clubs to say
they were.
We are part of the Super League. So how did that make you feel?
It's just Stan Kroenke doing what he does. He just wants to get richer. He doesn't think about the fans. He doesn't think about the club. He just thinks about money. But to be fair, like when I first heard, Super League. Oh yeah, I was thinking that this could be good because it could be all the best clubs in the Premier League in the whole world playing against each other every week.
Yeah,
which would be entertaining. But then they turned it to like no relegation.
Yeah,
and the big clubs, only the big clubs, and they can't leave. But obviously, it weren't the big clubs; it was the rich clubs, which then made me think, what's going on here? It's all about money. So that annoyed me quite a lot.
No, exactly, and I think when you started to see Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, confirming their involvement. I mean, to be fair to Arsenal, at least they had the balls to say, like, we are involved. Liverpool, my club, just put up a statement, and you had to read through the newspaper. Hiding is what I'd say. And your point is absolutely correct. I mean, it comes down to these owners not having a connection with football and wanting to make more money. But I do agree that I think there's aspects of the Super League that could work if done correctly. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But when it comes to the Super League, obviously we kind of know those main reasons, but I'd like to get an insight from you two on why you think this has happened and what has caused this to happen. So Pav, obviously you've touched upon it there.
Yeah, so like I said, it's money. It's rich people trying to get richer. Like most of the owners of the top six, shall we say, the clubs that were involved are Americans. They're not British, so they don't understand like what is for us English fans out here. Well, I'm not English, but but for us fans, what football means to us.
Yeah.
Like in America, they've got the NHL and the NFL, which are massive money makers, and they want to turn football into something like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Even the system of it, they were on about having two like conferences where there's 10 teams in one, 10 teams in the other.
Yeah,
and it's all very American and not a fan of that at all. But go on.
British people don't like it, which I'm not surprised because it is ruining the whole aspect of football.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, well, Max, obviously a chant you as a Derby County fan have been saying for a while now. Fuck the EFL has turned into fuck the ESL as Big Thugdad and Thugden and Thugdad have made very clear over the last few days over at the Chelsea protest. Big up to everyone that went there.
Yeah.
Making a stand for football. We love to see that. But Max, why do you think this has come about?
I agreed with the money aspect. Of course, it all comes down to money. I think, unfortunately, the owners have probably been lied to quite a lot about the excitement for this new league and what it's going to bring to them, what it's going to bring to the club, the money they're going to get, which unfortunately were probably a lot of lies as well. The person running this Super League has probably just told a lot of lies, made a lot of promises that you can have this if you come to it. So that's why I think that's kind of unfortunately, and that's why he's got people on his side. But until the other day, there's no thought for fans in it at all. Apparently, even the managers didn't know, which is very even worse. They've all been thrown under a bus. But it's just how the footballing world's come together lately, guys. Is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it has been a really disappointing, and also obviously, had we have recorded this 2 days ago, it would have been a very different tone to what it is now. But I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. Obviously, I personally believe this is an awful thing, but for those big clubs, you Manchester City. Let's talk specifically about the Premier League now. They don't believe that the Champions League is good enough as a product, which I love the Champions League, but I don't think it's distributed in the right way. I mean, it's only on BT, which isn't always accessible. If you watch the Premier League, you have to have Sky and BT and Amazon. You have to have all these different things. So I don't think the Champions League is the best thing for all these big clubs. And also, if you are a big club like Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, like these big fan bases. I mean, they are the interest of the Premier League, to be honest. I wouldn't watch Burnley v Brighton, but I would watch Chelsea v Brighton because as football fans, we want to be entertained, and they are the most entertaining side. So I understand where they're coming from in terms of, oh, well, we deserve more. And it is greed. Of course, it's greed. But I think what the Premier League and Champions League need to do is have some sort of regulation where they either make the league more competitive by introducing stricter financial fair play systems, or they need to, somehow come up with a way to ensure that the top teams feel compensated for what they're giving to the league. Because at the end of the day, as much as integrity as, let's say, a Brighton have, they are going to make more money from Liverpool playing them than Burnley or West Ham. So, for those big six teams, it's about getting their value. I think there could be a better way to set this up with the Super League specifically in mind. But I'll discuss that in a little bit. But should there be any sanctions put in place for these teams? So we've seen teams like Wigan basically relegated by points deduction and things like that for their financial issues. And these are technically financial issues. They are going against the league. They've all taken a very strict response that you won't be able to have players play in the Euros, and you won't be able to come back to the Premier League and things like that. And now it seems like they're all starting to come back from those. But do we think sanctions should still be put in place, despite the fact that all these teams have come back and turned around, done a U-turn?
No, 100%. There should be punishment because they basically just threatened to leave the whole league. And so they need to be punished for that because they basically nearly ruined football. So whether it's a point deduction, fine, transfer ban, whatever it is, they need to be punished so they never do it again, pretty much.
That's the thing. If you were in charge, Max, what would your sanctions be for these clubs?
I think it's got to be a hefty one. Well, not unfortunately, it's got to be a hefty one. A statement needs to be made about this. You look at some of the points deductions that have already been given. I know we're not talking about in the Premier League, but lower leagues, Championship, League One, and League Two. Some of the points deduction have been absolutely ridiculous. Making a mistake with a transfer, going into embargoes. They've had big points deductions for doing stuff like this, and these six clubs have threatened to agreed actually ruin the Premier League for many years, and all of a sudden they're happy to come back into the Premier League. So I think some punishment does need to be made. I'd probably say for the big six, is a fine really a massive problem for them, and an owner can pay off a fine, take a little hit, make that back in a season. Maybe you're looking at more either ban from Europe, which will hit them quite hard, or maybe something along the lines of transfer embargo. I know Chelsea were in one. Maybe they need another.
It's a difficult one to really discuss. For this particular episode, we're probably just going to specifically talk about the Premier League because it's too broad to talk about all the other issues with the Serie A and La Liga. And well, to be honest, I'm not interested. They're all shite. We're just interested in the greatest league in the world.
Unbelievable.
Well, the second greatest, behind the Championship, of course.
Oh, of course.
But when it comes to the Premier League, they are put in a difficult position because they need the big six as much as the big six needs them. If you're the Premier League, if you do apply a heavy sanction, is that going to push them away even further? So that's something they've got to be worried about. But at the same time, you've kind of got to set an example so that no one tries this again. And I do feel like, if it was the bottom six, if they decided, well, we want our own league, I don't really want to keep losing in the Premier League all the time, I feel like they'd be kicked out instantly and straight down to, League One, League Two. So, it's where the money is. And I think they should be made an example of whether... my personal opinion is that they all start next season on minus 12 points. We've seen Wigan do it. We've seen Sheffield Wednesday do it this season. I think, it makes the league more interesting in terms of 12 points is quite a lot to catch up, but it's not too much that they wouldn't get relegated so long as they were able to. I think Pav, you'll admit that Arsenal are probably the only team
they'll struggle.
They'll struggle. But I think minus 12 points, it sets an example. It says, don't do this again. And a lot of those clubs might not be able to make Champions League based off the back of that.
Yeah.
And then,
I think they should be a point of deduction this season, just to take out like those teams who are close to getting Champions League.
Yeah.
Get them out of it. Just like punish them that way. And then like Arsenal, they're 10th. They're going to be sitting 15th, 16th.
Good.
It's like reversing 3 months of time.
Yeah. Yeah, but there needs to be something done now, because if you keep them putting off, they just won't care. And like next season, they can bring all the players they want back in, and those 12 points won't matter to them because they'll make them back in for each game.
The thing is, it's such a shit topic, because as we move on to talking about the players and the managers in a moment, for me as a Liverpool fan, Jordan Henderson has been one of the main movers, it seems, from what's being reported, in getting clubs to step down with he organised the captain's talk just like he did for the COVID procedures. And he seems to have played a massive part in getting John Henry to stand down, and obviously that has a knock-on effect. And I think it's harsh on the players, for teams like Liverpool and Chelsea who are fighting for top four, who have worked hard all season, for them to rip it away because of their owners. It's so difficult, because you don't want to affect the players and the managers. It's not their fault.
And the focus can't be there, can it? The players wouldn't have been focused.
The players didn't know about it until we knew about it, to be fair.
Yeah.
Of course not. But I mean, Max, you were mentioning before this podcast about how Liverpool just drew, Chelsea just drew. It's going to be playing on these players' minds, and it is unfair. But at the end of the day, it's the responsibility of the players to now stand up and say, our owners need to go. And if they all get together collectively, I think it could work. But at the end of the day, it's their livelihood and jobs on the line. I've mentioned multiple times off the podcast that if you're Mason Mount and you love Chelsea, as you have done since you were, 2 years old, you've worked your arse off to finally get there. And suddenly your whole club's going against what you believe in. It's a difficult position. I mean, him on the team bus yesterday, I feel sorry for him, because seeing all the fans throw abuse, I know it's not at him specifically, but it's at his club.
But it's not their fault, is it? It's just,
of course it's not.
It's not the players' fault at all. But I don't know. I think like you talk about Jordan Henderson. Did you notice how once he came out with a little statement? I think a few more Liverpool players sort of came out with a little statement to their own, which is very good. Like you say, he's been a figurehead throughout all of this. So fair play to him. You just hope that players do come out and have a little say for themselves instead of sitting back and letting this carry on. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So Pav, how have you found the reactions from players and managers so far? Has it been good enough for you, or do you need more?
I've been watching a lot of AFTV over it, and that they actually
Robbie, mate.
Well, because they weren't going at the club, at the players, like the manager or anything. They were going at Stan Kroenke, the chairman of our club.
Yeah,
and that he needs to go. And they've organised a protest on Friday.
Yeah, we're all going. Come on, lads, take on Arsenal.
And they've organised that just to get Kroenke out, and they're not attacked the club or the manager or the players, which is good, because it's not their fault. It's the chairman, it's the owner's fault. And more clubs should follow in the steps of that, having protests outside, make them sell the club. There's probably loads of other investors out there that will happily buy a club like that and turn it into something good.
Yeah,
the owners feel under pressure from this, but it's very hard to get it's very, very hard to get an owner out of a club, like fully out of a club, just over this. Unfortunately, I don't think any owners are going. Unfortunately,
no, I agree. I think the most likely owner to go genuinely is Stan Kroenke of Arsenal, just purely because Arsenal as a brand, I don't think is as expensive. Cool. Yeah, I think Arsenal as a brand is declining rather than inclining, and I think for teams like mine with Liverpool or Manchester United, like it's too expensive to buy. No one has the financial capability to buy that. I mean, when John Henry bought us in the first place, he bought us for dirt cheap because we were in so much debt. I mean, to be fair to our owners, it puts us in a difficult position because they have always done what is best for the club in terms of their finance as well, which has been the annoying thing. They've benefited as we've benefited, which is fine, but it gets to the point where they've turned too greedy and gone against everything that Liverpool, as I've grown up, has been known for. And I think when it comes to the players and managers' responses, it puts them in a difficult position. They shouldn't even have to talk on this. But the fact that I mean, I'm not going to comment on all the players that are now starting to say things now that it's already done. I'm going to congratulate players like James Milner, who came out straight away. I'm probably missing a few. Who else? Did anyone else?
Bamford came out after the Leeds game and had a little Klopp was put under one hell of a lot of pressure. In his interview.
I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was too, wasn't
he? Yeah, they had a lot of pressure. I'd just like to say that Patrick Bamford made a very, very good point about when the greed was coming and like the big protest about it. He'd like to see some more protests around bigger issues in football, which is a very interesting point, which is probably for another podcast, such as racism. So probably for another podcast. So fair play, Patrick Bamford.
No, I agree. Patrick Bamford has been. That's a fantastic point that not many considered, and I think to be fair to this Super League and everything, UEFA haven't covered themselves in glory at all. I mean, literally 2 incidents recently. So you have the Slavia. Was it Slavia Prague? Their player got a 10 match ban. And nothing else was done. And UEFA's whole campaign, it's on the shirt, say no to racism, the Premier League, Black Lives Matter, it's all the same, or whatever else the Premier League states. They've got plenty of different slogans and things like that. But these incidents happen and they are, a 10 match ban, do this, do that. But then when it comes to the money side of the game, when it's, we're going to leave the league or we're going to leave the Champions League for this amount of money, suddenly it's, you will never be in our competition again. You will be like, why can't they ban that specific Slavia Prague player from ever playing in Europe again?
Agreed.
Like, you know what I mean? It's very, very much, it doesn't affect us. So it's not really a problem. Like we'll make some kind of stand because that's the right thing to do. And because we'll get too much backlash if it isn't. It's not right, and Bamford makes a great point. So,
in the group stages, when PSG walked off the pitch because someone was racist to them,
the fourth official was
things
racist.
That should be happening. They should be rescheduling. Players should be walking off pitches if things happen to them like that. And get UEFA to reschedule everything. And refund tickets, things like that. That's going to cost them money. That's what
that went and happened in the La Liga as well with Valencia quite recently. They walked off the pitch in their game because of a racist incident, and I don't know what's been done about it. I think there's still an investigation going on, but they were told that if they didn't come back on the pitch and finish the rest of the half, that they'd forfeit the game. Which isn't right, and it's not like Valencia were losing 2-0 or something like that. It was a 0-0 game. It was a close game, and more has to be done. And Bamford makes a great point, and I think that just leads into how corrupt all bodies are. Both the Premier League, which is probably the worst, as in the best of the worst evils. UEFA, we know, is corrupt. FIFA is definitely corrupt. And I think that leads into what should happen from this point on, to benefit the future of football in terms of making sure that this doesn't happen again, and that all clubs end up happy from this. How do you think we can address that?
It's a tough one to say because you can't please everyone.
Of course, yeah.
I actually have no clue what we can do. Nothing's coming to mind.
Max, have you got anything in mind?
I think a lot of work needs to go into to fully understand what's going on behind the scenes with UEFA and these sort of companies, because I think a lot goes on without us seeing about it, which is quite obvious now. how you do that, I really don't know. There needs to be some investigations going on to make it fairer for everybody. I know that Gary Neville had been trying to set something up for the past 12 months to try and do some investigations around FIFA. Around FIFA. But the problem they've got wasn't it true that PSG didn't want to sign up for the Super League because where the World Cup's being played in a couple of years, aren't they sort of host like linked with them or something? Which is
well, their owner, I believe, has money invested in that World Cup competition.
Yeah.
So it's all very, and the only reason the German clubs didn't go through because they're owned by the fans, 50 plus one rule. Yeah. And I think that is something that needs to be looked into both in the Premier League as well, because I was going to lead on from Gary Neville's point. I think the way to fix this going forward is to have independent regulators who are nothing to do with football, by the way, nothing to do with football, so that they have no stake involved and that they go in, they're paid for by governments and paid for by the money generated by football from each club to look into FIFA, to look into UEFA, to look into the Premier League. I mean, perfect example of the Premier League, the top six being greedy again. Newcastle was set to be taken over not too long ago, and everything looked fine for that takeover, but it was denied because of a vote that was swayed by the top six. Yeah. And how is that fair? Most of them gain. I mean, Liverpool and Manchester United, for example, have been around for years and years as successful clubs, and of course that's led to a bigger fan base, and that leads to more money. But for teams like Manchester City and Chelsea, there's new money, it's new success. Why can't Newcastle have a go? And the top six are more bothered about outside threats than they are each other. They were willing to go into European Super League. Teams like Arsenal and Tottenham, they were willing to go into European Super League. They get battered week in, week out. Tottenham can't even make it past Dinamo Zagreb in the Europa League.
Exactly.
But it's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing.
Going off your point of like Arsenal and Tottenham going in, Arsenal have not been in Champions League for a few years now. So what? We can't get in, so we're going to buy our way in. That's not how football is. I want Arsenal in the Champions League, but I want us to get there and earn it by playing good football, not by buying our way into there, because that's not how it should be done.
Yeah, and the fact that you can't even get relegated from that league. I will talk about how we could improve the European Super League to end this episode off, but just quickly, you can't get relegated. So let's say there are 15 teams in the league and they let these 5 teams come up. How does that work? Let's say Leicester are genuinely a better club than Arsenal and have been for the last few years.
Agreed.
If Leicester finish, the top 6 are gone from the Premier League. Leicester win the league. They get to the semi-final of the Champions League, whatever, which they are good enough to do if all the top teams go. They then enter the Super League next year. They come above Arsenal in the league, in the Super League. What happens then? Do they come back? How does that work?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Because there's no guarantee that. I think they think when they set this up that the top 15 will never be in the bottom 3. Or bottom 2, or however well it works, so it wouldn't be an issue. But there's every chance that Arsenal and Tottenham could be in the bottom 3 against those. They're terrible. They're absolutely awful. Liverpool haven't been great this year. Chelsea weren't great under Frank Lampard. It is embarrassing. It really is.
I completely agree with that. It's on the day we announced that we are going to the Super League. We drew 1-1 with Fulham.
They didn't even play well.
How can we call ourselves a top 6 club when we're drawing teams like Fulham? I understand top 6 rich club.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about money.
That frustrated me a lot because we can't be doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, I mean, obviously we can talk about it now with a bit more confidence and a bit more, happiness, being as what happened. But I mean, I can't imagine, let's say it had gone through, I can't imagine it for the players, obviously the fans. I mean, the Premier League were on about kicking them out and the government were on about kicking them out of England, which means Liverpool wouldn't have been Liverpool anymore. It would have been Dallas pool or something like that. You know what I mean? It's a joke. It's you know what I mean? It's a fucking joke. Start looking like Pez. You know what I mean? It's a fucking piss take.
You have to buy a special add-on for FIFA that costs £60.
Yeah, you got fucking Pessi up front and Mala on the wing for Liverpool. Yeah, it's
I'd just like to say we need to be careful, guys, because this Super League has not gone away. I think we all need to realise that they could quite easily come back in a couple of years, and we could easily be in the same position. So I think, like you were mentioning earlier about this independent panel, something has got to be done.
Yeah,
maybe like going back to how we can fix it, get like a fan ambassador that speaks with the club.
Well, that's where the 50+1 rule comes in, isn't it? That would be the ideal, but unfortunately, the Premier League is a different beast compared to the Bundesliga in terms of money. I don't think the fans could rack up enough money to be able to get involved, which is a shame.
None of these clubs will be where they are now without the fans.
No, of course not. But I think partly because of the pandemic, but partly because the owners are so out of touch. I think with not having fans in the stadium, it's quite easy for the owners to think, well, we don't need fans and we'd be better off without them and things like that. And I mean, I don't know if either of you have watched many basketball games or baseball games or NFL games. I mean, I can't speak too much on it because obviously I'm not an avid fan, but I've watched quite a bit of basketball. And when you watch a basketball game, it's all advertising. It's all just money here and there. And you look at the people in the crowd, and it's not like you have season tickets. In the NBA, there probably is, but they're all at the back where they can't see anything. Always at the front are celebrities who come every now and again. You've got Toronto Raptors with Drake coming every now and again. And it's just like they're not. They can say that they're fans, but they're not these true fans. And I can't say that I'm, the purest of Liverpool fans by any means. I don't go every week. I can't go every week. I can't afford to. I'd love to, but it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it's just they've tried to Americanize the clubs because that's all they've known, and that's what makes the most money. And there's been no care for fans. There's been no care for the players, the managers, and it is unfair. And as Max rightly says, I think without proper regulation and proper sanctions, I think if anything, the setback here will lead to a more worrying scenario where they know next time not to announce this as quickly or not to. Plan it correctly before coming out with it, because it will come back and it will be worrying
learn from their mistakes and they speak to the fans. Or
I honestly can't see that happening. I honestly can't see that happening.
A quick question for you two: Do you two think that, in all honesty, that all of this going off could? I know they might play in it now, but it could affect the Euros quite a lot. It's a big thing for a couple of months before the Euros. Do you think it could have a little effect?
You would hope that it would. Speaking specifically on England, you would hope that it would unify the players. You would hope that by the Euros there'd be fans in stadiums. You would hope that likes of those players from the top six, which is basically the whole of the England team, to be honest. You would hope that they'd come together and say, look, we're doing this for the fans. Like we've got a lot to prove here to represent our clubs correctly. But the other way it could go, I mean, we've seen mentality from Liverpool and Chelsea so far this week, a lack of intensity and energy. And that comes from being bashed over and over again on social media from so-called fans. And it could play an effect.
Yeah.
We'll see. Excited because Paul might actually have a weird chance of winning that. All the best players are at. Lewandowski's up front, the best player, and there we go.
Leave it in the comments, guys. Leave it in the comments and let us know what you think.
For sure. But what's come out this week is now that the Super League is supposedly done for at least the next few years. The Champions League have come out and said that their new Champions League plan has been given. And what I don't know if you guys know too much about it, but essentially in 2024 there will now be 36 teams involved, and so just like the Europa League, there'll be a round of 16, What do we think about that?
I like that they're expanding it to the 36 teams. They're adding is it 4 more teams? Is it?
No. Well, I'm not quite sure, but it'll be how many group stages is that? 9 groups.
Yeah.
And then the round of 16, which will be 18. So 18 teams in the round of 16.
I reckon it could be good because you're getting more clubs in, giving them more clubs an opportunity, and it'd be nice to play more football, because there's more teams, more football, isn't it? So
obviously,
I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, obviously great for Arsenal as well. More opportunities to get involved.
Yeah.
I haven't read up on it, to be honest. I won't lie, but I did see earlier about weren't they going to pick one team on? Oh, I don't know what it was, but say if you finish 5th, then the team in 6th could get in ahead of you on something or other. I don't know what it was, but I'll have to have a little read up on that. And,
by paying UEFA.
Let you guys know next week. But does the Champions League need changing? I'm not sure, but we'll soon see, guys.
That's the thing. For me personally, I don't think the I mean, we'll get on. I'm going to lead into this from this, but I don't think the Champions League needed changing. It either stays as it is, or we move to something like the Super League, but in a different manner. Because the Champions League is meant to be the best of the best, and by having teams placed in 7th, it kind of, let's say in the Premier League now, you have to be 7th to qualify. There's not that much competitiveness. Like, you're competing for 7th and 8th spots. If you mess up 4 weeks in a row in terms of your game week, a negative impact on you. I think Champions League should always be for the best of the best, and the Europa League is there for a reason. No, but it is. If the Champions League is 7, then you're looking at the top 10 getting to Europe, and I feel like it kind of brings that excitement away from it in that aspect of things. But in terms of the Super League, if we were going to implement the Super League, we were going to scrap the Champions League, we're going to implement the Super League, how would it work? And how could we make it so that it's a good product and not a bad product?
You've got to have relegation and promotion in it, haven't you? If you're not competing for anything, then what's the point of, where's the integrity gone? You've got no point of actually attempting to play. I don't know how it would work. Like, how do you pick the teams to actually go in it? Because you say the top 6 from this team, like we've mentioned many times now, they weren't the top 6 on current form over the last couple of years. They weren't the top 6. I really don't know. I just think the fans are so against it now. Do you think it's ever going to happen? Unfortunately, I don't think it's ever going to take off now.
Yeah, I think the name is pretty much tarnished now.
Yeah.
And I think any attempt to do anything like that going forward will probably be in the bin. But Pav, how do you think you could improve it personally?
I like that for me, it would be a whole separate league, but obviously there will be relegation. So, like, let's say top 4 from the Premier League go, top 3 from Serie A and things like that. Some clubs from each like big league, and then like the bottom of each country kind of go down, and the top from each country go up.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it will be played alongside Premier League or not. I think it should. Just it would be nice to watch. Like international football every week.
Yeah.
But make it more enjoyable, so you can get relegated from that and you can get promoted there. Give it some of the lesser clubs to work together, such as West Ham, Southampton, or these teams that have got a chance of getting there. Everton, but yeah, that's what I think.
No, I completely get the idea of that, and I think the problem is that the Premier League might struggle in terms of, you know, if the clubs aren't in the Premier League anymore, are they going to have the same financial backing? But at the end of the day, that would be a fair way to do it. And I've seen a lot of people say on Twitter and on YouTube that you get bored of, you know, Liverpool v Real Madrid every other week. I wouldn't. You know what I mean? I'd rather watch Liverpool v Real Madrid, Liverpool v PSG, than Liverpool v Brighton or Burnley. I don't want to watch Brighton or Burnley. No offense to any Brighton or Burnley fans, but I don't want to watch that. So I don't get where that comes from. But in terms of the Super League, I think there's ways you could do it.
Yeah.
But there's always downsides with everything. I think, let's say we scrap the Champions League and you have the Super League, which is, again, 20 teams who earn it by, same way you're the Champions League, top 4 from the Premier League, top 3 from La Liga, whatever, all come together into this league. And if you get relegated, you're not in it next year. And so on and so forth. And let's say those teams relegated from the Super League this year face the teams who got into those top 4 this year. If that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? To promote themselves up in there. So that'd be a way to do it. But the problem with that is then, let's say they've got Liverpool, for example, have a midweek game against Bayern Munich. They're not going to play their best team against Brighton on the weekend in the Premier League. So, and is that going to bring as many people in? I don't know. So there's downsides to everything, really. And for Liverpool, if they do enter the Super League, they're going to get money from that, which they can invest in the Premier League and make a bigger gap between them and clubs like West Ham, Everton.
That's true.
It's such a touchy subject. It's such a difficult subject. I mean, again, those teams in European spots already have a massive advantage from the financial game. It's so difficult to talk about, and I think the future of football is something that is both scary and has shown to be quite positive from the fans this week. But you just never know, and I just hope that football is in safe hands in the end, because
hopefully
it's a sport we love and we want to see it thrive. Moving on to the final topic that I want to talk about. If you guys got any, then let me know at the end. But I think probably the best thing that's come out of this is the amount of memes and comments that have come out of this. I think my personal favourite has been the most recent one from yesterday. Jordan Henderson letting all the captains know about what's going on and how to stand up for it, and all the pictures of Aubameyang being an absolute prat, not being a captain. Because he's not, let's be honest.
No,
and did you see his deleted tweet? Did anyone catch that?
He deleted his account. He made it inactivate.
Yeah, he deleted the whole account. Did anybody see what he tweeted?
No.
He put about Corona, didn't he?
It was basically like a year 7 tweeting. Like, I've come back to Twitter and I can't even talk about the Super League or COVID. I hate my phone. I'm going off. Bye, Twitter. Peace out. Like, that's your captain of your club. He's 32 years old. Get a grip. You've got a shit haircut. Get out of this league.
Yeah.
No, he shouldn't be a captain. I think it should be Leno.
Anyone. Give it anyone. Give it Saka,
true.
and he's about 7.
Yeah.
He can have it.
He can lead our team.
But what's your guys' favourite memes been?
Thogden.
Thogdad, what a hero! What a hero!
We'll add the clip.
Did you see? We'll insert the clip now. Did anyone see his haircut as well? The Richarlison haircut.
No.
He got Richarlison's exact haircut. So Richarlison has that, like buzz cut, but then he has a bit in the middle slit out, and then he has the line going down like the tram line going around the back. Thogdad, a middle-aged man, got that, and he looked fucking class, to be fair.
To be fair, he saved football.
He did.
He's the only man that saved football.
You know what? For all those people that commented about coronavirus and things like that, like, we're coming out of it now. And at the end of the day, there's bigger things. Obviously, this virus is an awful thing. It has been an awful thing, but this virus isn't going to be here forever. Fingers crossed. Football is, and they did all the right thing to save it. And I think all those people that went deserve a big round of applause.
Definitely.
Despite them being dirty Chelsea fans, they deserve recognition for coming out and being supportive. I mean, we didn't see that with Tottenham, of course. We expected that because they have 0 fans. But I think you'll see a big turnout for Arsenal. I've heard Manchester United are doing a massive thing on Saturday to try and get the Glazers out. I think this Arsenal one on Friday will really be massive. And I think, unfortunately, Arsenal will be prepared for it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it was an important moment, and big up Thug Dad and Thug Dad.
Yeah. I just like the way Wolves changed their caption on
Their
Twitter
bio.
saying that they're the Champion League, the Premier League winners.
Oh,
And there's another one from Spartak Moscow.
Yeah, they're my favourite. They're my favourite football team on Twitter. They're brilliant.
I put it in the chat. So if you guys got, we can put it on screen for you.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Literally scribbled out the English team. And just like a 5-year-old's handwriting, winners, Spartak win. And
it's like a whole. It's my club, Liverpool. They're in the same group. I can't remember when. It was the time we got to the final against Real Madrid about three years ago, and it's this whole Champions League group. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't actually work, but it's fucking funny. And they've been class the whole time. They're a great Twitter account. And,
very good. But it's just funny how all these clubs are tweeting like, "Oh yeah, we're winners," things like that. I just find it hilarious.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It really has.
Twitter over the last 2 days has been absolute class.
Fantastic.
And I think that's one thing to point out. Actually, there's been a lot of negativity with this, but one thing it has done is really unite fans. I mean, me being a Liverpool fan, you guys have heard my rants and emotions and things like that in the group chat over and over, but. As a Liverpool fan, you look towards your comrades on Twitter who are Chelsea fans, Arsenal fans, and you're united in the love of football. And as soon as we play Arsenal next, I'm going to hate them. But for now, stick together, and that's something I'm really proud of for the love of football, because it could have been quite easy for Arsenal fans, Tottenham fans, Liverpool fans, all the rest of them to go, well, my club. I want what's best for my club in terms of bringing in the money and bringing in those best players that cost money. But as a nation and as a footballing fan base, we've really come together and said, football's more than just the top league.
Fans are rivals against each other, especially in the Premier League. They all united and did a wonderful thing and saved football.
Yeah,
and they put all that hate aside and just saved.
Yeah, Leeds and Leicester fans were coming together. No, Leeds and Liverpool. What's all that about?
Yeah. But you have to in times like this. I mean, not to compare it to a war, but it is essentially a war on greed, and football was created by the poor and has been stolen by the rich, and still has been. There's nothing we can do about that. Football is a rich game now. Tickets do cost £40. Jerseys do cost £40+. It is what it is, but at the end of the day, that next step is just unnecessary greed and unnecessary money, and it would make football inaccessible for real fans. And I'm glad that all the clubs saw some sense from all the hard work of the fans, and it's been great.
As a Liverpool fan, what do you think of the Leeds pre-warm-up kit that they wore? Champions League earlier, and on the back saying football is for the fans.
You know what? In the terms of FNG, if anyone watches him, they get a shit house award from me. To be fair to Leeds, it's a class statement. Unfortunately, the players and the manager are on the receiving end of it. It's not their problem. It's not their interest, and it works both ways for Leeds. It sends a good message to the club itself and to social media, and also it gets in the head of the team. So I can't really complain about it. I'm not overly happy about it because it's not the players and managers' fault. But if it was the other way round, if Leeds were in the Super League and we weren't, I'd want us to do it. So I completely understand.
Fair enough.
I completely understand from that point of view. But just to round it off, Max, obviously, your club, nothing involved with this at all. But how would this affect you, and how well, actually, you might be in League One soon, so I don't know. But how would the Super League have affected EFL clubs like your own?
I think it would just, like we mentioned all night, it would have come down to money. I think it would have even affected Championship clubs with the money as well, because there'd be a lot less money for the rest of us. I agree. The top six brings so much money to the. Even when the top six club gets someone good in the cup, you don't realise how much money that brings in from TV sponsors, all the fans there, And I just think it would have been disgraceful for football, really. There was talk about, obviously, if the Big Six got kicked out of the league, what was happening with promotion and relegation in the Championship for a start? That would have been an absolute shambles. And stuff like that just can't happen. I think it hasn't affected the Championship humongously, but we'll see what's next to come.
Yeah, I mean, it's hopefully we can leave this behind and continue in the vein of form that we've been doing, and we hope to see Liverpool back on top of the table. We hope to see Derby stay up, and we hope to see Arsenal in the top 4.
And Josh has just won FPL.
And their son scored.
We'll leave that for the next podcast.
Oh, yeah, we'll leave that one for the next one. There could be big celebrations. As of this very moment in time, I am currently 17 points ahead with 7 games to go. No, 8 games to go, sorry. So if I win tonight against Elliot, who isn't here, he's too scared, that's what it is, then I will win the FPL, and I'll be taking some money, but we'll talk about that next week to see what happens. Pav and myself have a cheeky acca on as well, so maybe we could come back with some celebrations next week. We'll see.
Milan lost.
Okay, both our accas are in the mud, so never mind.
Yeah, ignore that.
Ignore that. But yeah, could be big celebrations for me. But anyway, get in the comments. I know everybody has their opinions on this Super League, so get your opinions. Give us your best memes, what you find funny from this whole situation, because you've got to laugh at it, otherwise we'll all probably cry. But otherwise, it's been great talking to you lads about this Super League, and we'll be back next week where hopefully we've got an exciting idea. Pav, do you want to just talk about that quickly?
So to be doing a bit of career mode, but with a spin. So you just gotta stay tuned and see what happens, and it could be either go well or it could go bad. Yeah.
we'll see next week, but a different concept to the podcast rather than just talking. We'll have some FIFA career mode for you, and we'll explain that concept next week. But that has been the LadsTake, and it's goodbye from us. We'll see you in the next one. So see you, Pav.
See you later.
See you, Max.
Bye.
And if Elliot did manage to get me over some voice notes, see you later, Elliot, you pussy. See you next week.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.